Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, I am SocioPsycho, and today we take a look at Chameleon RGB Agent. This is created by Unfinished Pixels and is available on PC, Mac, and Linux. Now, this game states itself to be a stealth, but it also has sort of a leaderboard, time, speed, run aspect to it. Now, the time and the speedrun element of the game is not tied into the first person. The ticking clock goes up, not down, therefore very important for allowing you to compete and replay to better your own personal score or compete on the leaderboards, not feel pressured to have to make it through the map at a certain time. Although there are availabilities, achievement-wise, to do so, and we'll go into that in a moment. Now, when we go into the options menu here, you can see we have the sound effects and the music on two different separate sliders. This is very nice. The music in the game is done very well and it helps propel the atmosphere of the game, and it's never really dull or boring as it keeps the atmosphere alive. It has plenty of screen resolutions, which is always nice to know, but it doesn't have any rebindable keys. Now, the movement controls in the game is very simple. You can either move via WASD, the arrow keys, or your mouse. And beyond that, you change colors as a chameleon to blend into your surroundings at certain locations to avoid detection. But there's no way to actually rebind those keys. I found this to be a real detriment to the game, as many times I would have rather had the keys rebinded to different layout so I could be more proficient in switching in between the colors within a split-second notice. On top of that, the game is very heavily color-based. It has red, blue, green, and teal, and your chameleon, so these are the colors that you'll be using and switching in between, hide into different backgrounds to avoid detection, but they don't have a colorblind mode. I feel this is a real deterrent and even a stupid decision upon their part not to have this. Now, I will state that the game has run smoothly at 60 frames per second with no crashes, issues, or anything else. Graphically, the game is simple, but artistically it looks decent enough to get by with no issues or complaints. When we look into the actual game, now, I have made it a fair bit into the game, and I haven't made it as far as I personally want before doing a review, but I've hit a wall. And why I've hit a wall is because I've hit frustration. The game starts out split up very well on different levels, and as it goes through, the difficulty increases. Now, the difficulty just doesn't increase upon the amount of troops that you end up, but also the different types of monsters and the level design. And as you can see, there are 3 different sections that I have unlocked, and there are little achievements: collect all the flies on each map, beat it in a certain amount of time, collect all the ladybugs on the map. These are little incentives for a single player who may not be interested in competing against his own time or the time of others. This is a way to replay to try to encourage you to play more of the game, which I understand and I welcome. The leaderboard aspect of the game is implemented very well. The fact that you can easily open up the leaderboard section on the mission screen without having to go into the game or beat the game to see the leaderboards, and you can easily check your position against your friends, and the position against the world within the main zone mission selection is very nice. It makes it very manageable, so you can see which ones you are if competing on the leaderboards is your sort of thing. Now, how does the game actually play? And this is very important, because the game is divvied up by different mechanics. It has different types of monsters, yes, but the level design is what's most important. Because the game is a stealth/runner, it does require elements that would tie heavily into level design. So the level design of the game is actually well done. For when you have the basic understanding of the simple mechanics, avoid the automated turrets, avoid security cameras, blend into the backgrounds, all the pretty much basic movements that you need to know to get around, it slowly and gradually adds new mechanics, which is nice. It keeps it fresh in the fact that the level designs, while they may get larger and add more monsters into it which will spot you, it doesn't just continue the scale. In each zone of mission selections, it divvies it up into different themes and different puzzles. Now, it does get harder as the levels do get more intense and the higher up you go, but how does the game actually handle on a stealth basis first? Well, on a stealth basis, it does what it needs to right. it has the different colorations that you pick from, and you hide and you avoid the enemies. There is a lot of waiting and patience in between watching how the enemies move, watching the security cameras and the field of views of the enemies which will spot you, as well as the fact that they were very lenient in giving you many checkpoints on majority of the missions, so you never felt that if you did get spotted you would lose too much progress. I felt it was always fair in how it represented how much progress it was willing to give you, therefore not allowing you to get burned out just through replaying one mission. But with that being said, the game actually hurts itself by a stealth later on. For the higher up you go in the difficulties, it becomes less of a stealth element and more of a precision-based second-by-second movement right on point to get through a field of different enemies which wish to spot you. It becomes very frustrating towards the end of these different missions as the levels get harder and harder. While the level design may be decently laid out to allow that challenge, the stealth element starts to fade away higher up in, and it feels and begins to feel more of its runner aspect. This is where the runner aspect actually comes into play as being a good thing and a bad thing, because the runner element aspect in higher degrees allows a greater challenge for people of the mindset who enjoy competing against other players or competing against their own time. This continuational increase in difficulty is really good for them. This allows the best of the best to rise above the mediocre, and I have no shame in admitting that I am a mediocre player when it comes to those sort of games. When it comes to time-based precision accuracy, I am definitely not one who will be in the top rankings of leaderboards. But unfortunately, with the increase in difficulty, it nerfs the stealth element of the game. When this happens, it starts becoming less about stealth and more about pinpoint precision movements, and as that happens, you will find yourself to be more frustrated as you have to retry different parts of a map multiple times. Depending on which map and your skill, it could be 5-6 times to 20 to 30 times. It really depends on you and which map you're on. But the fact that it increases in difficulty is both a good and a negative thing. When that happens, when the difficulty of a mission actually continues to increase, allowing the variety that they continuously have in level design to confuse you and make you have to relearn a new aspect, which is always welcome and always great, when they push so heavily upon the time, everything becomes about timing. It's not so much about stealth, but how do I get in between 2 or 3 different viewpoint cameras in a split-second movement, allowing me to get through. If you are interested in this game, I understand greatly, and it is a game that may not be too difficult to recommend, but you have to go into it knowing that it's going to be more of a challenge of a personal level rather than a stealth element game. Does it have stealth element? Yes, it does, and it does its stealth very well, but on higher levels of the game, it gets nerfed by the fact that it turns into more of a pinpoint accuracy, rush through the game as fast as you possibly can, and the game doesn't try to hide from that, and it shouldn't. Why should it? On the main options pages you have a speed mode. It's saying to you, hey, if the game itself and the leaderboards were not enough to give you a challenge, here is an extra speed level challenge for you. Now, did my personal playthrough of the game end well? No, I found it actually quite frustrating. I was one of the few people, because I'm a mediocre game player, in the fact of speedruns and pinpoint precision upon these style of games, that it's not so much that I wasn't entertained by the aspect, because I can see that the game is good for what it is, but I was highly frustrated and put off by the game and not wanting to replay anymore. The thing about the game and how it does actually have capture all these flies, capture ladybugs, go through it at this time and get these achievement and unlock and say, hey, I got 3 out of 3 for this mission. It's nice, but the fact that it comes down to so much of a speed element towards the end rather than a stealth element pushes a lot of casual people away, or people who may not be hardcore intent or very good at the time-based element platform of the game. Can I recommend this game? Yes, I can recommend it. For what the game does and what the game has, it does it right. In early stages, it does stealth right. In later stages, it nerfs stealth and it does time-based aspects correct. It is a very hardcore game and should not be looked at with easy eyes. And thus, recommending it, I recommend it to people who enjoy difficult games in the time element aspect and competition. Thank you everybody for watching, for I've been SocioPsycho, and I'll see you next time.